The German invasion of Greece, or Operation Marita, were the attacks on Greece by Italy and Germany during World War II. The Italian invasion in October 1940, which is usually known as the Greco-Italian War, was followed by the German invasion in April 1941. German landings on the island of Crete came after Allied forces had been defeated in mainland Greece. These battles were part of the Greater Balkans Campaign of the Axis powers and their associates. Following the Italian invasion on October 28, 1940, Greece, with British air and material support, repelled the initial Italian attack and a counterattack in March 1941. When the German invasion, known as Operation Marita, began on April 6, the bulk of the Greek army was on the Greek border with Albania, then a vassal of Italy, from which the Italian troops had attacked. German troops invaded from Bulgaria, creating a second front. Greece received a small reinforcement from British, Australian and New Zealand forces in anticipation of the German attack. The Greek army found itself outnumbered in its effort to defend against both Italian and German troops. As a result, the Metaxas defensive line did not receive adequate troop reinforcements and was quickly overrun by the Germans, who then outflanked the Greek forces at the Albanian border, forcing their surrender. British, Australian and New Zealand forces were overwhelmed and forced to retreat, with the ultimate goal of evacuation. For several days, Allied troops played an important part in containing the German advance on the Thermopylae position, allowing ships to be prepared to evacuate the units defending Greece. The German army reached the capital, Athens, on April 27 and Greece's southern shore on April 30, capturing 7,000 British, Australian and New Zealand personnel and ending the battle with a decisive victory. The conquest of Greece was completed with the capture of Crete a month later. Following its fall, Greece was occupied by the military forces of Germany, Italy, and Bulgaria. To enter northern Greece, the German army had to cross the Rhodope Mountains, which offered few river valleys or mountain passes capable of accommodating the movement of large military units. Two invasion courses were located west of Kestendel, another was along the Yugoslav-Bulgarian border, via the Struma River Valley to the south. Greek border fortifications had been adapted for the terrain and a formidable defense system covered the few available roads. The Struma and Nestos rivers cut across the mountain range along the Greek-Bulgarian frontier and both of their valleys were protected by strong fortifications, as part of the larger Metaxas line. This system of concrete pillboxes and field fortifications, constructed along the Bulgarian border in the late 1930s, was built on principles similar to those of the Maginot Line. Its strength resided mainly in the inaccessibility of the intermediate terrain leading up to the defense positions.
In zähem Kampf arbeiten sich Sturmpioniere und Infanterie weiter vor.
At dawn on April 6, the German armies invaded Greece, while the Luftwaffe began an intensive bombardment of Belgrade. The 40th Panzer Corps began their assault at 5:30. They pushed across the Bulgarian frontier into Yugoslavia at two separate points. By the evening of April 8, the 73rd Infantry Division captured Prilep, severing an important rail line between Belgrade and Thessaloniki and isolating Yugoslavia from its allies. On the evening of April 9, Sturm deployed his forces north of Monastir, in preparation for attack toward Florina. This position threatened to encircle the Greeks in Albania and W force in the area of Florina, Edessa, and Katerini. While weak security detachments covered his rear against a surprise attack from central Yugoslavia, elements of the 9th Panzer Division drove westward to link up with the Italians at the Albanian border. The 2nd Panzer Division, 18th Mountain Corps entered Yugoslavia from the east on the morning of April 6 and advanced westward through the Strumica Valley. It encountered little resistance, but was delayed by road clearance demolitions, mines and mud. Nevertheless, the division was able to reach the day's objective, the town of Strumica. On April 7, a Yugoslav counterattack against the division's northern flank was repelled, and the following day, the division forced its way across the mountains and overran the thinly manned defensive line of the Greek 19th Mechanized Division south of Doiran Lake. Despite many delays along the mountain roads, an armored advance guard dispatched toward Thessaloniki succeeded in entering the city by the morning of April 9. Thessaloniki was taken after a long battle with 3 Greek divisions under the command of General Bakopoulos, and was followed by the surrender of the Greek Eastern Macedonia Army Section, taking effect at 1300 hours on April 10. In the 3 days it took the Germans to reach Thessaloniki and breach the Metaxas line, some 60,000 Greek soldiers were taken prisoner. The Germans had to break the Metaxas line in order to capture Thessaloniki, Greece's second largest city and a strategically important port. The attack started on April 6 with 1 infantry unit and 2 divisions of the 18th Mountain Corps. Due to strong resistance, the first day of the attack yielded little progress in breaking the line. A German report at the end of the first day described how the German 5th Mountain Division was repulsed in the Rupel Pass despite strongest air support and sustained considerable casualties. 2 German battalions managed to get within 600 feet of Fort Rupel on April 6, but were practically destroyed. Of the 24 forts that made up the Metaxas line, only 2 had fallen and only after they had been destroyed. The 5th Panzer Division, advancing from Skopje, encountered a Greek division tasked with defending Monastir Gap, rapidly defeating the defenders. First contact with Allied troops was made north of Vevey at 11 o'clock on April 10. German SS troops seized Vevey on April 11, but were stopped at the Crete Pass just south of town. During the next day, the SS regiment reconnoitered the Allied positions and at dusk launched a frontal attack against the pass. Following heavy fighting, the Germans broke through the defense. By the morning of April 14, the spearheads of the 9th Panzer Division reached Kozani. On April 14, the 9th Panzer Division established a bridgehead across the Haliakmon River, but an attempt to advance beyond this point was stopped by intense Allied fire. This defense had 3 main components: the Platamon tunnel area between Olympus and the sea, the Olympus Pass itself and the Servia Pass to the southeast. By channeling the attack through these 3 defile, the new line offered far greater defensive strength. The defenses of the Olympus and Servia passes consisted of the 4th New Zealand Brigade, 5th New Zealand Brigade and the 16th Australian Brigade. For the next 3 days, the advance of the 9th Panzer Division was stalled in front of these resolutely held positions,